Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today. My name is Ram, and I'm a cybersecurity specialist here in ManageEngine's IT security and SIM solutions team. I'll be your presenter for this webinar. The topic of today's webinar is the top underrated features of Log360. We'll be going over 5 different features of Log360 that are not as widely used as they probably should be. As a SIM vendor, we would like these 5 features that we'll talk about today to be used a whole lot more. The use of these features will definitely make a very big impact to the level of your security. I can assure you of that. Now, before we get started, a couple of housekeeping things. This webinar is being recorded, and you will each receive a copy of the recording over email within a couple of days. Also, during this webinar, in case you have any questions, please use the Q&A feature on your webinar panel and send me your questions. I'll try my best to answer the questions at the end of the webinar. If for some reason I'm unable to get to your question today, I'll try and email you the answer within 24 hours. Okay, and the most important announcement that I would like to make, I want to promise you one thing as we get started. I'll try and make the next 35 minutes as useful and practical for you. Something that you can take back with you and apply in your workplace. Something that is actionable. Now, that is the part of the deal from my end. From your side, please try and implement at least 2 of the things that you learn in the webinar today at your workplace. In that way, you can create some tangible business value for your company. And I'm sure that's what we all want to do. We all want to create some real impact for our organizations. Great, so we're almost ready to get started. But before we do that, I would like to do a quick audio video check. So if you can hear me well, and you can also see the slides on your screen, could you give me a confirmation over chat? We'll just wait for a few confirmations. And if there are no technical glitches, we can get started. So either put it on chat or you can use the hand raise option. That should be fine. Thank you so much, Dean. Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you, Terry. Thank you all so very much. Thank you, Norman. Thank you. Thank you for those confirmations. So here's the agenda for the day. We'll first briefly go over Log360 and understand why it is an integrated and unified SIM solution. That is point number 1. You'll see how several different capabilities are brought onto just one single console in Log360. You'll then see how the custom log parser is used within Log360 and how it can derive security analytics from almost any data source. At the end of the day, you should be able to collect logs efficiently to be able to drive your security function. Now, any SIM solution, it could be Log360, maybe you might be using some other SIM solution. That's all fine. But any SIM solution should have the ability to connect to multiple log sources in the network and make sense of all of that. Now, a lot of this connection, right, with the different log sources, it is provided out of the box. But there could be certain applications, certain unique applications that do generate logs in very, very unique formats. And that is where the custom log parser is going to become very, very critical for you. Once that is done, we'll be talking about configuring compliance-based alerts to meet different regulatory mandates. We'll then talk about forensic analysis and how it can be performed after looking at an incident. The next point on the agenda, how can you receive notifications when log collection fails or an event source goes dark? Like I said just a few moments ago, you are connecting to a lot of different devices on your network and trying and getting all of those logs within the SIM solution. In case one of those devices fails to send you the log data, for some reason, the log collection actually fails. It could be either a problem at the device's end, or it could be a problem with the agent. It could be anything. In case something like that happens, how exactly can you rectify that situation? That's what we'll be looking at over here in this particular point. We'll end the webinar by delving into anomaly detection and risk scoring. Did you know that you can customize risk scores calculations in Log360? You'll learn how to do this at the end of the webinar. Okay, so great. That is the agenda in a nutshell. And I think now it's time to start. Let's get started with the webinar. So let me quickly jump into Log360 and show you what we have there. Now, this happens to be the main dashboard of Log360. And right off the bat, you'll notice one thing. you'll notice that it is an integrated and unified SIM solution that brings several different components onto one console. Just take a look at this. Here are the different components of Log360. You've got Event Log Analyzer, which is the first component that you see here. This component enables you to monitor all your network devices and manage your log sourcing and ingestion. Thread correlation also happens within this component. So basically, this looks at your overall network, and in case something wrong happens there, it will alert you. Then you have one more component within Log360 that is called AD Audit Plus. Now, AD Audit Plus, as the name suggests, it's all about monitoring your Active Directory environment. Now, Active Directory is used by 90% of organizations around the world. And a lot of organizations nowadays use Azure AD as well. So you've got to have some sort of a solution that will monitor your Active Directory environment, audit any kind of change that happens there, any user creation or a group creation, or any kind of a privilege escalation. For example, a user gets added to a sensitive group. All of those things are going to be monitored by AD Audit Plus. So that is this component here. Then you have O365 Manager Plus, also known as M365 Manager Plus now. And it is going to monitor your M365 services in real time. So with this particular component, you can manage or you can monitor services like Exchange Online, Skype for Business, OneDrive, and so much more. The other component that I would like to talk to you about is this one right here, Log360 UEBA. This is the anomaly detection engine of Log360. Here you can analyze strange behavior that happens in your network. Now, this strange behavior could be something that a user does, and it could be something strange that gets done on a host. So it could be either done by a user that is strange, or the strange activity would be some kind of an activity that gets performed on a host. Either way, this particular component is going to help you detect all of that. Not just detect that, whenever something of that sort happens, it's going to assign a risk score to that particular user or host. The neat thing here is you don't have to write any detection rules here. The system learns by itself and keeps your organization proactively safe. The next component that I would like to highlight within Log360 is this component right here called Cloud Security Plus. And this enables you to monitor activities that happen in a multi-cloud environment. Nowadays, especially in the last 18 months, the entire world was together in this, right? We were all facing the huge problem of COVID-19. A lot of companies have expedited their move to the cloud. But on top of that, many organizations now are on a multi-cloud environment. So 92% of the organizations are on a multi-cloud environment. So you've got to be able to monitor things that are happening in different parts of your cloud infrastructure, whether it be your AWS, your Azure, your Google Cloud Platform, your Salesforce, even your Alibaba Cloud. So all of those things have got to be monitored, right? And in one single console. So that's what this particular component called Cloud Security Plus is going to do for you. So the greatest thing here about a SIM solution like Log360 is it is able to bring all of these different parts of information, different kinds of information all onto one single console. And as the security professional, as the security administrator of your company, you just have to work with one solution. And then from this console, you can take all your intelligent decisions. So that is how this is going to be very, very useful for you. So yes, we wanted to talk about the custom log parser, right? So let me go back into the presentation. We just spoke about this. Log360 is a unified and integrated SIM solution that brings different components onto one console. So we just had a look at the main dashboard of Log360. Now we'll talk about how you can use the custom log parser. But before we do that, I want to make a general point about log collection in general. So this particular component called Event Log Analyzer, well, this component is going to help you collect all the logs from across your network. So let me open up this component here. In fact, I've got a separate instance of Event Log Analyzer running here for you. So if you want to collect logs from across your network, you just have to go into the settings tab. And right here under configuration, you've got different things that you can do in terms of getting logs in for monitoring. So let's say that you want to configure network devices for monitoring. You just need to go into manage devices. And here you have the option to add your Windows devices for monitoring, your syslog devices. Here we are looking at devices such as routers, switches, firewalls, your other devices. All of these can be configured here for real-time monitoring. But apart from that, apart from your major network devices, you can also monitor your application sources. So if you go into this particular option here where it says manage application sources, you see that there are several different types of application sources that you can get in for monitoring. And let's say that you want to add a new application source, just go into add instance, and you can give all of this information and you can add that particular application source. So that's how application monitoring actually works. Then you have the option to manage your threat sources. So here we are looking at your data loss prevention systems, your antivirus, your IDS and IPS, and so on. So again, you can just go into manage threat source and you can configure new threat sources for monitoring here. Go into add threat source. And you can actually connect to that particular device. You have to specify what kind of a type it is. And then Log360 is going to provide you out-of-the-box support for that particular threat source. Likewise, you can also add your vulnerability scanners for monitoring, which you can do by going in over here. So manage vulnerability data. And this basically explains to you what is happening. So here are some of the popular vulnerability scanners or the popular vendors such as Nessus, Nmap, Qualys, OpenVAS that Log360, the event log analyzer module of Log360 can connect to, and then it's going to give you all of these different sorts of reports. Now, all of these reports are provided out of the box, right? So whether it's your vulnerability scanners, your application sources, your network devices, everything that we talked about so far, support for that is provided out of the box. So, and you can get all of those reports and you can take your intelligent decisions. But what if you have a unique log source that generate logs in unique formats? Just think about that for a moment. So many organizations use IoT devices, right? Now, these IoT devices may generate logs in very, very unique formats, and you cannot derive meaning out of these logs right off the bat. The logs are just data, but you need a way to turn this data into information. So that is where the custom log parser is going to become very critical for you. To use the custom log parser, what you need to do is go into import log data. So let me show that to you in action. Let me go into a working model or a working instance of Log360. Just give me 1 second. So here's a working instance. So I go into the settings tab. I'm already within the event log analyzer module here. Here I have the option to import log data. So once I go there, now you can see that I already have a lot of imported logs here. So this is where you can actually go ahead and import logs. If you want to import new logs, just go in over here. And you have several options to do so. You can just import from a local path if it's stored locally, from a remote path or a shared path, you can do that. Or even if it's stored somewhere on the cloud, you can connect to that and you can get those logs in. You can import those logs. So let's go ahead and do that. In my desktop, I do have a sample DHCP log file stored. So let me go ahead and do that. So here is my sample DHCP logs file. So I've gone ahead and do that. Once I do that, it's gonna select that particular file which I have saved in my desktop. After that, you've got to associate a particular device to it. And here is the way that you can do that. Log360 is going to group different kinds of devices together. So you can go ahead and say that it's probably a Windows workstation or a Windows group of devices. You have different ways of classifying it. So you can go ahead and do that. And you can say add. And then you have the option of storing logs for the short term. in which case the imported log data will be stored for just 2 days. So you can maybe check that off and then you can do the import. Once that is done, you'll see that your logs are going to get imported. And there we go. So this is the last time that the scan was done. Now take a look at this, the next scan time. So it is not that you have to keep doing it in a manual way. You can actually tell Log360 that you can go ahead and do the import at particular times, and Log360 will go ahead and do that. So you can configure that actually, so that you don't have to keep doing it manually each and every time. So when, during that particular schedule, Log360 is going to go out to that location and it's going to import that file. Right? And then if you go over here into view report, you'll see exactly why this is going to be so very useful. Just take a look at this. So Log360 is able to say that these are DHCP logs by just looking at the format, and it's going to go into this particular report under applications where the DHCP logs, Windows logs are. That particular report is going to be displayed for you, and it's going to pick up from the data that we just imported together. So that is how all of this is actually going to come together for you, and you can make sense of all of this. Right? So basically, we just went into the report view and it tells us all the details about the logs. Right? So that's what we see over here. And what is really happening here is that Log360 is ingesting the data. So apart from collecting the data, it is also ingesting the data. That means it is bringing the data into a usable form. Now, let's say that you are interested to know more about the logs here. For this, you can go into the search option on the top. And then the type of logs over here in the drop down, you can go ahead and choose the type of log. So you have the DHCP Windows logs that we just imported. So you can go ahead and do that. And then if you hit the search button, it's going to give you that refined list of DHCP Windows logs. So these are all the events that we imported together, right? So from here, you can actually drill down and do a forensic analysis through your imported logs. So you can add or remove columns. So it's just importing from whatever you had, right? So all of those columns are going to be available for you over here. Or the major thing that you can also do is you can use the Elasticsearch option here, and you can actually click through and get to the root of a particular problem. So you have all the events over here. So let's say that you want to use the Elasticsearch option and you want to click through to get to the bottom of any problem that is happening in your DHCP logs. You can totally do that. Let's say in the logs, we have associated multiple devices, or there are multiple kinds of events that are available. So you can go ahead and click on the event ID. So you can see all the different event IDs that are part of the logs. So you can then find out that, this particular event ID 25, it's happened 4 times. 24 has happened 2 times. So it's basically arranged in descending order. And then let's say that you want to drill down into this particular event ID. You can just click on that. So again, this is the Elasticsearch capability. And you can get down to that one particular log of interest or event of interest. I mean, I've just kind of simplified the whole forensic analysis part of it. But this is how you can actually use the search function within Log360 and get to the bottom of any event of interest. What exactly was the root cause? You can actually get to the bottom of that. So in our case, we looked at the DHCP logs. In case there was something of interest within the DHCP logs, you can keep clicking through and you can get to the bottom of it. So it's a very, very easy way for you to analyze all of the logs using the search function here. Right? So this is about the custom log parser. Let's go back into the presentation now. So yes, the custom log parser enables you to collect logs from different log sources, including IoT sources. Every organization is unique and they can make use of logs in unique formats. Now we just looked at the DHCP logs, right? If your organization is unique, let's take an example. Let's say that it's a healthcare organization. And nowadays, a lot of the healthcare organizations have IoMT or Internet of Medical Devices. You can even have smart X-ray machines nowadays, right? And you can also have devices in the operating room, which have their own IP addresses. And these devices generate logs in very, very unique formats. So with a custom log parser, you can actually connect to those devices and import all of those logs in, and then make sense of those logs. So this is another use case, right? This is where you can actually use the custom log parser. Great. So the next point on the agenda, let's now talk about compliance-based alerts in Log360. So let me go back into Log360 and show you what that's all about. So let me go into the event log analyzer module of Log360 over here. And now, since we are going to be talking about compliance, where else do we go but to the compliance tab on the top? So let's go into the compliance tab. So here on the left-hand side, you'll see that Log360 helps you comply with regulatory mandates such as FISMA, PCI DSS, SOX, HIPAA, GLBA, ISO 27001, GDPR, and so on. You also have the CCPA. The CCPA came into effect in 2018. And now, it's not just the CCPA anymore. So there's a more advanced version called the CRPA. So, as a SIM vendor, we try to keep ourselves updated about all of the new regulatory mandates that are in effect in different parts of the world. And we try to bring all of those functionalities within the solution. So the compliance tab, you'll notice, is always a work in progress for Log360. So as new mandates are passed, we try to bring all of those mandates within the solution for new use cases. And for each of the mandate, which you would select on the left. So here we have FISMA selected. So any mandate that you select on the left, you'll get to see comprehensive audit reports on the right-hand side. So you just need to choose the report of choice. So here we have just chosen FISMA, and different clauses of the FISMA, tell us to do different things as far as the compliance with FISMA goes. So here, Log360 is actually looking at files created. So this is very, very important when it comes to the FISMA compliance. So you can actually go ahead and you can click on that particular file or that particular report on files created, and you get to know all of that information. Right? Now, so far, so good. This is very, very good information to see. For example, the device, the file that was actually created, who created it, the process that was run in case it was run, the time at which the file was created, all of this information is going to be available, right? This is very good information to have, no doubt about it. But think about one thing. To get to this information in the first place, you have to log into the solution and you have to review your reports. That's what we did, right? We came into compliance tab. We then chose FISMA. And then on the right-hand side, we said that we want to look at this particular report. Then we looked at this report. And then we saw this report. And then we found out that, okay, there is this thing going on over here. This particular file was created. So to get to that information, we have to log in and we have to take a series of steps. But to comply with mandates better, you have to do one better. You need to get alerts about possible compliance violations proactively. So you can't just be viewing reports, you have to get alerts for that. Let's see how that works. We have to go into the alerts tab on the top. And once you go into the alerts tab, you'll see a list of alerts that are generated for you already for this particular time zone. But if you want to add a new alert, a new compliance-based alert, pretty easy to do. Just go into add alert profile. And then here you have to give the alert name. So let's say that in this case, we are looking at the CCPA compliance violation. So we can just say CCPA compliance alert, for example. And then the severity. This is completely up to you, whether it's critical, trouble, or attention. So this, depending on what you choose, it's a nice way of classifying it. And then in the alerts dashboard, you'll be able to prioritize the alerts that come through. So in case it's a critical alert, it will show you, it will be marked separately as a critical alert. And then you can click on the critical alert, right? Because for 99% of cases, you probably want to be looking at the critical alerts first. So that is why this classification is going to become very important when it comes to prioritization. And then you have to choose the device. So you can, again, go to the different groups, the Unix group or the default group. You can actually, come up with these groups here. So you can go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and say that. And once you choose the device to which this alert is associated, then it's time for you to choose or select the alert. And this is going to become the main thing that we'll see here. You have three different types of alerts, right? You have predefined alerts, which are available out of the box in Log360. Then you have compliance-based alerts. This is what we are looking at right now. And as you can read here, set compliance alerts to meet the regulatory or to meet the requirements of different regulatory mandates. And then you also have custom alerts, right? So this is where you go ahead and create your own conditions. You write rules, and then Log360 is going to help you with those alerts. So for this particular part of the webinar, we are looking at compliance alerts. So let's go ahead and choose compliance alerts. And then here you have the compliance type. So let's go ahead and choose CCPA. That's what this is all about. You have several different compliance types here as well. All of this is support is provided out of the box in Log360. Go ahead and choose CCPA for our example. The alert category, in case you want to go ahead and do that, or you can choose it as all. If you choose one particular alert category, then it's only going to look at that particular part of the alert, right? So for example, if you just want to look at MS SQL DDL changes, that can be done. If you just want to look at Oracle DDL changes, that can be done. Now, depending on what you choose here, right? Depending on the type of compliance, the compliance mandate, the alert category is also going to change. So this is where we have associated the different alert categories with the mandate itself. So this is an association that we have built into the product. So once you do that, you can go ahead and see the different types of alerts here. You have as many as 216 different built-in alerts for the CCPA mandate. And if you want, you can go ahead and choose a particular alert. So that particular alert that you want to be notified for, you can go ahead and choose that. So let's go ahead and choose something here. And then you hit save. You can format the alert message. So in case an alert is generated, what message would you like to receive? Both on the Log360 console, as well as in case you set up an email notification or an SMS notification, you can get that as well. The message can come to you. So you can go ahead and set the notification either once a day, once a week, once a month. You can customize it, or all the alerts as well. So in which case, it's just going to aggregate all the alerts as of then and then send it over to you. If it is going to be once a day, then it's going to send you all the alerts at a particular time once a day. So all the alerts will be aggregated and will be sent to you. Then, of course, you can see that you can get notified by email or SMS. So in this way, you're proactively keeping your organization in compliance with the CCPA mandate, right? So that's what this particular use case is all about. So let's go back into the presentation now. So this was the major point. Log360 can help you comply with mandates such as FISMA, CCPA, GDPR, PCI DSS, HIPAA, ISO 27001, and so much more. Now let's talk about incident management and the associated forensic analysis. So let me go back into the event log analyzer module, and let's go back into the alerts tab where we were some moments ago. Now, like I said before, take a look at this. Here are all of your alerts, right? And on the top, you have your critical alerts, your trouble alerts, your attention alerts. And these are all the alerts in your environment for this particular time range. That can be customized, by the way. Right? Now take a look at this. you can actually do one thing here. This can be pretty hard to analyze, isn't it? Because there are so many alerts. In fact, you have 84,000 alerts. And if you want to look at each of these alerts in an ad hoc basis, each alert one by one, that could be not the very intelligent way of doing things. Several of these alerts can be logically grouped into one incident, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's always better for a security analyst to consider several different alerts as one incident. That way, the investigation is expedited. You can also do a root cause analysis in a much more efficient way. Because similar alerts can be put together, logically similar alerts, because of the intelligence of the analysts themselves, they'll be able to group several alerts together, right? So that is what we want to do with efficient incident management here. So for the purposes of this example, assume that this particular alert here and this particular alert here logically go together. So as soon as you choose the two alerts, see, take a look at this. I'm choosing this particular alert and then this particular alert. You have this option here to add these two alerts to one incident, right? So you can go ahead and do that. You can either add the two alerts that you have chosen to an incident that already exists, or if it's going to be a new incident, you can also create your own new incident over here. So both the options are there. And once you do that, once you add it to an incident, if you go over to the incident tab, and then you go over to the incident to which you added those alerts. So in our case, we added two alerts, right? So if you added those two alerts to this particular incident, you come in here, you get to see all the different evidences about this particular incident at one place. So all the evidences will be picked up from the different alerts and will be shown over here. Not just that, we always recommend the clients to have a description here so that it makes collaboration between security analysts very, very easy. And in case an incident gets passed on to a different security analyst, they're not starting from scratch. They can look at the description. This is going to give them the very much required context. Apart from that, you can also look at the notes. So in case the first security analyst wants to write any sort of notes, any sort of things, any sort of insight that they have gained by analyzing that particular incident, all of that can be written over here. In fact, many a time what a lot of our customers do is they look at the list of evidences here. They'll do a forensic analysis, which we'll look at in just a moment. And then they'll come back into the incident management console here. They'll go into notes and they'll start writing notes by just going to add note and adding the note here. In this way, if the incident gets passed on to a second security analyst, or it goes to an incident handler who's tasked with responding to the incident, they can take a look at all of the notes and they're not starting from scratch. They have some context to work with. It makes collaboration very, very simple. Now, apart from that, you also have the option to assign this particular incident to a technician. That can be done here. You can set the severity of the incident by going in over here. We looked at the severity of the alert some time back. You can also have severity of the incident over here. And you can have the status itself, whether it's in progress, is it open, or is it already closed? So all of that incident management can be done over here. Now, great, right? All of this is very, very empowering information for any security analyst. But what I really like, and I'm pretty sure you might also like this, is what you see on the right-hand side over here. You get to see who the incident was actually created by, the incident created time, and the incident age. And you also get to see the due date in case there is a due date. So in that way, you know exactly how much time you have left before this incident actually exceeds its SLA. So as in case you're managing the SOC, you'll get to know, okay, this particular incident, it doesn't have that much of time left. You'll have to expedite things. So all of those management decisions can be made from here. You can also take a look at this. You have actors, and underneath actors, you have three different categories. You have entities, which are basically hosts or devices. that are involved in this particular incident. You have suspects, and suspects are usually just users who are involved in this particular incident. So any user involved in the incident is going to be highlighted for you here. And you have process name. So any process that runs as part of this incident is highlighted for you here. So here the process that is running is explorer.exe. We have all seen this process. Probably not a malicious process, but in case something stands out over here, you get to see that at first glance. Not just that, what you can then do is you can copy that particular process, or for that matter, you can copy the entity or the suspect. You can just Control-C over here. And then from here, you can pivot to the search field. You just put that in over here and then hit the search button. Okay, so I think I've lost connection. Let me go ahead and try this again. Okay, for some reason, I think the connection is lost. But what this is going to do for you is once you hit the search button, all the events of interest that are to do with this particular process here. So this is a harmless process. Every system runs this, right? It's just explorer.exe. But all the events for a particular time range that is specified by the security analyst, that is specified by you, all the processes that are this particular process that you're searching for, all of those events are going to be listed for you. And just like before, you can do a forensic analysis. You can keep drilling down and you can find the different kinds of users, the different times at which it was run, the different devices on which that particular process was run. All of that can be done. And you can actually get to the root cause. So that is how your incident management console of Log360 is going to work in tandem with your forensic analysis component or your forensic analysis capability. The two kind of work together and you can get to the bottom of any particular incident. A very, very important capability to have. It's an underrated capability. Not many people use it, which is very surprising. But hopefully the people here can take away from this webinar and can start using this in your work environments. Right? Okay. Now let me go back into the presentation. Yeah, so this was a major point I made. Manage incidents instead of ad hoc alerts. You'll only need to add alerts into larger incidents. From the incident console, you can pivot to perform log forensics. Very, very critical capability to have in any SIEM solution. Okay, now let's talk about one more feature that can be quite useful for you. This feature enables you to get alerts whenever an event source goes dark or the log collection fails. So let me show that to you right now. Let me go into the Log360 console here. And we're looking at the event log analyzing module. And let's go into settings tab on the top. So again, let me remind you, we are looking for alerts whenever a particular event source goes dark. This can happen because the device is not sending those data to the SIEM solution anymore, to Log360 anymore, or there is some sort of a problem and log collection is simply not happening. It could be anything, right? So that is what we want to get alerted for. So if you go into the settings tab and then you go into the admin settings, and then you have different things here. You've got manage agents, manage archives. All of these things can be done here. And take a look at this. Log collection failure alerts. This is exactly the capability that we are looking for. It is found under admin settings. And you can go ahead and you can set this up. So device down alert, you can actually set this up and you can actually select the devices. So probably you don't want to do this for every device, but in case you do, that can also be done. You can go ahead and select the particular device for which you want to get alerted. Do you want to be notified just once, or do you want to be notified each and every time What is the subject line that you want in the email that is sent to you? All of that can be done. You can configure multiple email addresses to which this alert is sent. So all of that can be done by going into the admin settings and going into log collection failure alerts. Now, Log360 also does one more thing for you. If you go over here into the settings tab, the main settings tab, and then here under manage devices, let me just show this to you. Take a look at this. The status over here. So here are some of the devices which have been configured for real-time monitoring. And you see that the collector is working properly for this particular device, for this device, and for this device, no problems. But the status does show collected down for these devices. So it is for these instances that we want to get alerted. So that's what we just set up over there. So what we just did just a few moments back was we went into the admin settings and we actually set up a collector down alert. So that whenever something like this happens, apart from showing this to you under status, it is also going to send you an email. So again, a very, very critical capability to have. Not many people are using this. Okay. Okay, great. So let me go back into the presentation now. And this is exactly what we saw. Learn about any log collection errors in real time. Get alerted over email or SMS. The final point that I would like to talk about in today's webinar is all about risk scoring. So risk scoring is done through this component here called Log360 UEBA. This is the anomaly detection engine of Log360. And I've got a separate instance of Log360 UEBA open for you over here. And together, we're going to see how risk scoring actually works. And then we'll see how risk scoring can be customized. Now, there are three different types of anomalies that Log360 can detect for you: time, count, and pattern anomalies. And if you go over to the anomaly reports, you'll get to see examples of each of these. You'll see that anomalies can be derived for devices, applications, firewalls, your cloud services as well, right? And then, for example, when it comes to devices, you can look at your Unix, your Windows, and your Cisco routers. Now, let's say that we are looking for time anomalies. Just make this, this selection here. You say time-based anomalies. You can choose the criteria to be users or hosts. Let's go ahead and choose users. And let's say that we are looking for log-on time anomalies. Go ahead and choose this right here. And then if you take a look at this report, you'll see that this particular user is expected to show a log-on or is expected to log on between 4 and 4:15 a.m. every day. So basically what's happening is that Log360 has learned the typical behavior of this user, and the baseline for this particular user has been set as 4 to 4:15 a.m. But one fine day, what is happening is that this particular user is logging on at 4:15 p.m. and that is being tracked as an anomaly, a time anomaly. And whenever something like this happens, the risk score of this particular user is going to be increased, right? So we just looked at an example of a time anomaly. Likewise, there can be count and pattern anomalies as well. And the risk score will be increased accordingly. So if you go over here to the dashboard and then go over to the user's dashboard, you'll see exactly what I mean by risk scores. So this particular user, user 1, has a risk score of 56, which is the highest in the entire network. There are other users as well, and their risk scores are also given here. So this is what the risk score is all about. This particular user has a risk score of 56. And whenever any type of a time count or pattern anomaly is detected, the user's risk score is going to be increased. From here, if you go over to the alerts tab, you can actually be alerted anytime the risk score of a particular user goes beyond a certain threshold. So this is the alerting mechanism of Log360 UEBA. You can give an alert name and you can go ahead and choose the risk card. And you can say that anytime the user's risk goes beyond 60. So user 1 was at 56, right? So they're just 4 points away from 60. So anytime it goes beyond 60, you will get alerted. So all that you're doing here is configuring this risk alert rule. The actual risk score calculation is done by Log360 UEBA automatically. But what you want on top of this calculation, which is automatically done by Log360 UEBA, is the option to customize risk score calculation. Because think about it, every organization is unique. Your organization could view risk differently from your friend's organization, right? So that's what we want to do here. If you go into settings and then you go into configuration, you have risk score customization. Unfortunately, not many people are using this feature right now, but the people in this webinar, I'm sure you're going to love this feature if you're using Log360 UEBA. So you see that there are 4 different sub-risks that Log360 UEBA is going to look for you. And you have insider threats, data exfiltration, compromised accounts, and logon anomalies. So for each of this, that is insider threats, data exfiltration, compromised accounts, and logon anomalies, Log360 is going to look at specific activities, and it's going to look at people's behavior when it comes to those activities. And then risk scores are going to be calculated. But what you can do is you can actually come in here and you can toggle this. For example, you can go into the different things that are considered for insider threats. You have data deletion, logon success anomalies, other insider threat anomalies, and so on, right? If you go in here, you have even more granular details. You can actually go ahead and edit this. So in case you don't want to consider this as part of insider threats, that can be done. In case you want to add a card group, in case your organization is different and what you consider to be insider threat is something different, you can actually go ahead and add a card group. That can also be done. You can go ahead and toggle the weight and the decay factor as well. So by weight, what I mean is, the importance that you give to a particular criteria. So in case you have a weight of 100 for this particular anomalous activity, that means that for the risk score calculation, it's going to be given a whole lot of importance. So the 100 means it's maximum. But in case you give a very, very low number like 5, that means that this particular anomalous activity is not going to be considered that much for your risk score calculation. So this is the level of customization that you can go for here. Likewise, you have the decay factor. The decay factor, to put it very, very simply, is the time it takes for a risk score to come back down to 0. Because let's say that a particular user A, they do some anomalous activity and their risk score is being increased, but over time they're not repeating that anomalous activity, and they're not as risky anymore. So over time, their risk score, if they're not doing any more anomalous activities, logically it has to come down, right? So that is what the decay factor is gonna tell you. It's gonna give you the option to toggle this, and you can increase the rate at which it comes down or the rate at which it increases. So all of that can be customized over here. So this is how risk score customization is going to become a very, very critical feature for you. So yes, customize risk scoring. The anomaly detection engine enables you to calculate risk scores for every user and host in the network. Customize risk scores according to your needs. That's what this capability is all about. So great. That brings me to the end of this webinar today. I hope you found this webinar useful. And I hope you start using at least 1 or 2 of these features. If you have any further questions, I'm still going to be available here for the next 10 minutes. I'll be answering your questions over chat. Or if you have any further questions, that's also absolutely fine. You can always send me an email at ram.p@manageengine.com. I would love to hear from you.